The blizzard hit without warning on December 21st. Snow fell in thick sheets, blanketing the rural Virginia road where Nathaniel and Grace Thompson lived. They were the only black family on this stretch of county road, had been for 47 years. Their small cottage sat back from the street, its wooden siding weathered but proud, smoke curling from the chimney into the white sky. Nathaniel stood at the window, his 78-year-old frame bent slightly from decades of construction work. His dark skin was lined with age, his hair silver as the snow outside. Grace sat in her rocker nearby, her trembling hands folding dish towels. The Parkinsons made everything harder, but she never complained. They'd survived worse than winter. Then they heard it. The roar of a motorcycle engine cutting through the storm, sputtering once, twice, then dying completely. Nathaniel limped to the door, his bad hip protesting. Through the swirling snow, he saw a figure stumbling toward the porch. A young white man, maybe 25, his face pale from cold, blood seeping through a makeshift bandage on his hand. The boy knocked, hesitant, ashamed. "Sir, I'm sorry to bother you," he said, teeth chattering. "My bike died down the road. I just need some hot water to warm my hands. Can't feel them anymore." Nathaniel didn't hesitate. "Get inside before you freeze." Grace was already moving, slower than she used to be, but purposeful. She guided the young man to their worn couch, her shaking hands steady with determination. "Lord child, look at you," she said, her southern accent thick with concern. "Arthur, get towels and heat up that soup." The boy's name was Connor. He tried to protest, said he didn't want to be trouble. Grace wouldn't hear it. "You'll sit right there and do as you're told," she said, the voice of a woman who'd raised 4 children and wouldn't take nonsense from anyone. She unwrapped his hand carefully. A deep, angry gash ran across his palm. "This needs proper cleaning. You should have gone to a hospital." Connor's eyes dropped. "Couldn't afford it. Lost my job 3 weeks ago, doing odd jobs." He left it unsaid. Grace and Nathaniel knew poverty too well. Grace cleaned the wound with antiseptic and bandages, while Nathaniel bundled up and stepped outside. The cold bit through his coat, but he barely noticed construction work had been harsher. The Harley sat in the snow, carburetor giving trouble. Nathaniel recognized the problem instantly. 50 years of fixing broken things had taught him to improvise. In his shed, he dug through salvaged parts, wire and gaskets that most had long discarded. Nathaniel never threw anything away. You never knew what might save a life. His fingers went numb, breath-forming clouds in the freezing night. Wind cut through his clothes like knives, but he kept working. Someone needed help, and he had never turned anyone away. Inside, Connor watched Grace's trembling hands wrap his wound with fresh gauze. "You've got Parkinson's," he said quietly. It wasn't a question. 12 years now, Grace said, taping the bandage. "Some days are better than others." Connor's voice went soft. "My mom had it. She passed 2 years ago." Grace's hand touched his shoulder, warm despite the tremor. "I'm so sorry, sweetheart." Connor looked around the small house, at the photographs covering every wall. Weddings, graduations, grandchildren. A lifetime of love frozen in frames. "This reminds me of her place," he said. "Same feeling. Like love lives in the walls." Grace's eyes misted over. "That's beautiful." They sat in comfortable silence while Connor ate the soup she'd heated. Homemade vegetable beef, rich and warming, the kind that tasted like someone cared. Outside, Nathaniel worked in the driving snow. 20 minutes later, he limped back inside, snow caked in his silver hair, his lips tinged blue. "Arthur Thompson, you're going to give me a heart attack," Grace scolded, rushing over with towels. Nathaniel just smiled. "Try it now," he told Connor. They went to the door. Connor hit the ignition, and the Harley roared to life, strong and steady. Connor stared at the bike, then Nathaniel. "I thought it was dead." Nathaniel smiled. Nothing's ever truly done if you know how to listen. Connor offered his last $40. Nathaniel waved him off. Keep it. Buy gas. Buy a meal. Grace pressed a thermos into his hands. Be careful out there. They were strangers, yet gave freely. Help someone else when you can, Nathaniel said. Connor rode off, taillights fading into snow. Christmas Eve found Nathaniel baking pecan pie, Grace writing cards. Their son Marcus was coming home for the first time in 4 years. He'll come, Nathaniel said, kissing her head. But when the car pulled up at 4 o'clock, something was wrong. Marcus stepped out of an expensive black sedan, not alone. A white woman in a business suit emerged carrying a briefcase. A white man in a long coat followed, looking like he'd never smiled in his life. Nathaniel opened the door, his smile faltering. Marcus? His son didn't hug him, didn't even remove his designer sunglasses. Dad? This is Janet Moss, a real estate broker, and Richard Clean, my attorney. The words hit Nathaniel like a physical blow. Attorney. My son. What's? Can we come inside? Marcus said. It's cold out here. They sat in the living room. The turkey timer went off in the kitchen, but nobody moved. Nathaniel's pie sat cooling on the counter, filling the house with cinnamon warmth that felt increasingly hollow. Marcus pulled out a folder. Dad, remember those papers I had you sign 6 months ago? I said they were for health insurance. Nathaniel's brow furrowed. The ones you mailed. You said you were putting us on a better plan. Marcus slid documents across the coffee table. They weren't insurance papers. They were property transfer documents. This house is legally mine now. The grandfather clock ticked in the silence. Grace whispered, What? Marcus avoided her eyes. The house belongs to me. You signed it over. Richard verified everything. Nathaniel's hands shook as he picked up the papers, his signature staring back. Marcus, there must be a mistake, he said. No mistake, the attorney said coldly. The transfer is legal. Your son is the owner. Grace's voice cracked. But why? This is our home. Marcus gestured to the broker. The land's worth $600,000. Have a buyer ready to close tomorrow. They'll tear down the house. Grace grabbed Nathaniel's arm. It's Christmas Eve. You can't be serious. I'm serious, Marcus said. You'll move to Silverbrook Senior Living. Full care, medical staff on site, safer for you. Nathaniel's anger broke through. We don't want a home. This is ours. How could you? You're old, Marcus snapped. Mom can barely hold a cup. Dad, you can barely walk. You have nothing. I'm doing you a favor. Grace whispered, We need our home. Marcus laughed bitterly. You gave everything to me and my siblings. And what do you have? We have each other. We have dignity, Nathaniel said. Marcus moved to the door. The van comes at 6. Furniture stays. Pack only essentials. Midnight, new owners take possession. Grace pleaded. At least let us stay through Christmas. Marcus ignored her. Be ready. The van will come. He left. At 5:45, they stood on the porch with 2 small suitcases. The van never came. At 6:45, Marcus returned alone. Scheduling issue. They'll come tomorrow, he said, already changing the locks. Nathaniel and Grace stood frozen, watching him drive away. The bus stop was 500 feet down the road, but endless. Nathaniel carried both suitcases. Grace clutched his arm, shivering. The stop was a rusted bench under a broken shelter. They sat, exhausted, the cold biting through them. When's the next bus? Grace asked. Nathaniel squinted at the schedule. Last one was 5:30. Next, 6 a.m. Understanding dawned. We can't stay out here. It's dropping to 10 degrees. Nathaniel hugged her. Maybe someone will pass by. Cars came and went, none stopping. By 8, Grace's shaking worsened. I can't stop, she said. Hypothermia had set in. Nathaniel held her. Talk to me. Tell me about our first Christmas. Weakly, she smiled. We were so poor. No presents. He rubbed her arms. I made you a jewelry box from scrapwood. Still have it? She murmured. So tired. No. Stay awake, he urged, trying to move her. She was dead weight. Just let me sleep, she whispered. Nathaniel shook her. Grace Thompson, you stay awake. She opened her eyes. I'm sorry. He held her close, shaking himself. 78 years of life, 47 in that house, and it could end here on a frozen bench. I love you, he whispered. Love you too. Another car passed. Nathaniel prayed, clinging to her as consciousness waned. Distant engine rumbles reached him last. Connor thought of them for 3 days. Their kindness stuck. On Christmas Eve morning, he called Jake, president of their motorcycle club. Take the club. Do something nice for them. Jake agreed. By noon, 300 riders planned to deliver food, gifts, and help with repairs. By 4, the convoy rolled, motorcycles stretching for miles. At the house, darkness. Connor knocked. A man, Marcus, held expensive whiskey. They don't live here. Leave. Connor noticed Nathaniel's carved walking stick in the snow. Marcus stammered. The Thompsons had been moved to a senior facility. Day. Connor's heart raced. Hours ago. Marcus nodded. Connor shouted orders. Search every bus stop within 5 miles. Engines roared. On the main road, Connor's headlight revealed 2 figures on the snow-covered bench. Here, he screamed. Running, he grabbed Nathaniel and Grace. Nathaniel's skin was gray, lips blue. Arms wrapped around Grace, barely breathing. Stay with me, Connor urged. Nathaniel's eyes fluttered open. Connor, yeah, we're going to help you. More bikes arrived, circling with headlights. Jake jumped off, shrugging out of his jacket. Sarah, their medic, ran up with her bag. Hypothermia, both of them. We need to warm them slowly. Within seconds, a dozen jackets were piled on Grace. Jake wrapped his around Nathaniel, who was still trying to protect his wife, even barely conscious. Get the heated blankets, Jake ordered. Sarah checked Grace's pulse, her face grave. Pulse is weak but steady. She's in worse shape. The Parkinson's made her more vulnerable. We need a hospital now. The modified truck with the heated camper pulled up. Carefully, Sarah directed as they lifted Grace. Don't move her too fast. Nathaniel tried to stand to follow his wife, but his legs gave out. Connor caught him. I've got you, sir. They loaded both into the truck bed, the heater running, blankets piled around them. St. Mary's Hospital, Sarah told the driver. Run every red light. As the truck pulled away, escorted by a dozen bikes, Connor stood in the snow, staring at the empty bench. They'd almost died here. Would have died if he'd been an hour later. Jake put a hand on his shoulder. They're alive, kid. That's what matters. Connor looked back at the house. Jake, keep me from going back. Jake nodded. We all need that. St. Mary's R had never seen anything like it. 300 bikers filled the lot, engines idling. Connor paced. 2 hours. Why no update? Sarah said, hypothermia takes time. Gradual warming. A doctor appeared, exhausted. Family of Nathaniel and Grace Thompson. Connor stood. We're all they've got. The doctor didn't flinch at the bikers. They're stable. Mr. Thompson is improving. Mrs. Thompson is critical hypothermia plus Parkinson's. They'll survive, but need observation. Relief washed over Connor. Can we see them? Nathaniel lay awake, groggy. Grace was unconscious. Nathaniel focused on Connor. You came back. Connor pulled a chair. Yeah, with friends. We were coming to surprise you for Christmas. Found your son instead. Jake added, we know what Marcus did. Nathaniel's face twisted in pain. I don't understand, Jake said gently. Some value money over family. You're a good man. Nathaniel looked at them. Who are you? Connor's family. Anyone who helps one of ours is family too, Jake said. Nathaniel whispered, I just fixed his bike. Connor, it was everything. You helped when you didn't have to. Nathaniel glanced at Grace. Is she okay? Doctors think so, Connor replied. Outside, Jake addressed the club. 2 good people almost died. Their son sold their home. We'll see they get it back and he faces consequences. A retired lawyer stepped forward. I'll represent them pro bono. Meanwhile, Marcus celebrated. Motorcycles flooded his driveway. Oh my God, he whispered. Jake, Connor, and 6 men entered. Marcus froze. Private property, he said. Jake smiled. Door opened, better locks next time. Harold Brennan handed papers. Fraud, false transfer. Connor, attempted murder. Jake, sign these tonight. Marcus, if I refuse. Jake, criminal charges, legal protests, 300 people explaining your crimes every day. Marcus, hands shaking, signed. Sign in front of a notary, Harold suggested. Sarah appeared, stamp in hand. Marcus signed. Harold checked. Sarah sealed. Done. The house belongs to Nathaniel and Grace Thompson. Jake said quietly, Get out. You're trespassing. Marcus scoffed. They'll be dead soon anyway. Connor replied, They've got us now. Family isn't blood. Family is who shows up. We're showing up, Jake said. Engines roared as Marcus drove off. 6 hours later, the cottage gleamed. Firewood stacked, roof patched, new locks installed. Inside, a 7-foot Christmas tree with gifts, food for a month. Connor replaced a discarded family photo. 50 bikers kept watch outside. Neighbors arrived with dishes and support. By dawn, the house was perfect. Nathaniel awoke in the hospital, oxygen and IVs gone. Evelyn smiled at him, like I got hit by a truck, but alive. Thanks to those bikers. Connor entered with coffee. Your house is yours again. Marcus signed it back under threat of criminal charges. Grace cried, Our home. An ambulance escorted them back, surrounded by 100 motorcycles. Lights, wreaths, smoke from the chimney. 200 bikers formed a corridor. Jake and Connor helped them inside. Warm air carried cinnamon, pine, and home. Nathaniel stepped inside and stopped, overwhelmed. The Christmas tree, the decorations, the presents, everything perfect. I dumbed single quotes, he couldn't find words. Grace moved to the mantel, saw their family photo back in place. Her hands shook as she touched the frame. How? Nathaniel turned to the bikers. How did you do all this? Sarah said, We had help. Your neighbors pitched in too. Mrs. Patterson appeared from the kitchen. Nathaniel, Grace, thank God you're all right. More neighbors filed in, hugging them, crying with them. Connor watched from the doorway, a lump in his throat. This was what family was supposed to look like. The party lasted hours. Food was served, stories shared. Nathaniel sat in his favorite chair, which someone had repaired. Grace sat on the arm, his arm around her waist. They looked at their home filled with love and people who cared. I can't believe this is real, Grace said softly. Nathaniel squeezed her. Believe it, we're home. As the sun set, most neighbors left, promising to check in regularly. The bikers began to disperse, but Jake and Connor remained. There's one more thing, Jake said. He pulled out 2 leather vests, custom-made with the club's logo. Embroidered names. Nathaniel Thompson, honorary member. Grace Thompson, honorary member. We'd be honored if you'd accept these, Jake said. Your family now. Nathaniel took the vest, hands shaking. I don't know what to say, Connor added. Say you'll wear it. Let us be there for you, like you were for me, Jake said. And call if you ever need anything. Day or night, we're here. Grace and Nathaniel donned their vests, warm and well-made. Over the heart, a patch read, "Protected by Warriors MC." Jake promised, "No one will ever hurt you again." A week later, New Year's Eve, Nathaniel and Grace sat on the porch, blankets around them. They gained weight from the club's constant food. Grace's tremors eased by new medication, Nathaniel's hip better after therapy. They'd found safety, peace, family. Engines rumbled, 20 bikers arrived, Connor leading. "Evening, folks," he called. "Hope you don't mind the invasion." Grace smiled. "Mind. We've been waiting for you." Food, drinks, decorations, music, laughter, chaos, and warmth filled the house. Jake handed Nathaniel 2 beers and a small wooden box. Inside, medallions engraved, "Protected, Honored, Family." "We're starting Guardian Warriors," Jake said, explaining a program to help vulnerable elderly people. "You too inspired it. These medallions are a promise. Everyone in the club protects you personally." Nathaniel accepted, voice cracking. "Yes. Yes to all of it." Inside, Connor presented leather vests. "Nathaniel and Grace Thompson, you showed kindness without expectation. These mean you're under our protection forever." Their names and the club logo adorned the backs. Papers followed, a trust fund covering taxes, utilities, medical expenses, groceries. Nathaniel protested, but Sarah and others reminded him and Grace of lives spent helping others. "You gave your lives helping neighbors." "Let us give back," Harold said. Vests on, medallions worn. Nathaniel whispered, "You've given us hope." Connor replied, "You reminded us why we call ourselves a brotherhood." Jake raised a beer to Nathaniel and Grace, "Our family. Proof that goodness exists." At 11:30, the fire pit outside glowed. Stories shared, laughter echoing. At midnight, Jake declared them lifetime honorary members of the Warriors MC. A plaque now marked their home, protected property of the Warriors MC. "Not a threat," Jake said. "A promise." Snow fell gently. Nathaniel kissed Grace. This year, the future felt bright. Exhausted but content, they wore their medallions to bed, safe, loved, and part of something bigger. The nightmares of the frozen bus stop were gone, replaced by the rumble of engines, the sound of family returning, always.